Hey, what's up YouTube? This is the Mermail Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel with another video. In today's video, we are going to be doing a profile on the Amorphage deck. And this Amorphage deck is inspired by the great Anthony Romero, who, in the creation of this deck, coined the phrase, "To thine own lysis be true." For in this deck's conception and creation, and in the process that he took to get to this point, he created and found something much greater. So without further ado, let us get into this Amorphage deck profile. Before I begin the profile, I'd like to give a special shout out to the one and only Godfather, whose support without this deck profile would not be possible. Godfather has provided these cards generously, directly from Britain, as they are European prints, and thus have a nicer shine to them. About the Amorphage deck, the reason that Anthony Romero decided to create this deck and this build and this variant of the deck not only as a creation for the post-link format, but also because the deck symbolizes the 7 deadly sins, as well as what they turn into. It is on part of the storyline of the Dracos, but the true abilities of the Amorphage lie unchecked. The Amorphage excel at checking your opponent and preventing them from activating or using certain effects. Though the Amorphage are powerful, they are stopped by some certain key plays and can have trouble putting stuff on the board, especially in this day and age in Link format. Certain cards to run with them, such as specific rank 4 extra deck monsters, as well as the brand new Pendulum, the brand new Link monster, the one and only Mrs. Radiant, are very important cards to have with this deck. So now, without further ado, let us begin this deck profile, and you can see the power that the 7 sins bring to the Amorphage in Link format, as per the one and only Anthony Romero. To start out this deck profile today, we have 3 copies of the Amorphage Sloth. The Amorphage Sloth, or the Amorphage Lechery, my apologies, is one of the most powerful monsters for the Amorphage archetype in this deck. It is an ultra rare directly out of the Shining Victories booster pack, and shares the effect that all Amorphage Pendulum monsters share, and that is the ability that when it is Pendulum summoned or flipped face up, that neither player can special summon monsters from their extra deck except for Amorphages. In the beginning, the Amorphage archetype does not play nice with others. However, the extra deck is where you're going to want to summon the majority of your Amorphages from. The real ability of Amorphage Lechery lies with its Pendulum effect, however, which states that while you control an Amorphage monster, neither player can activate spell cards or their effects, except for Amorphage cards. Though, once per turn, during the standby phase, if this card is in your Pendulum zone, you must tribute a monster in order to keep this card on the field. And that is 3 Amorphage Lechery, with a nice 1350 attack. The next card we're going to be discussing is Amorphage Lechery's brother in arms. 3 copies of the great Amorphage Greed. Amorphage Greed is exactly the same in its Pendulum monster effect as well as its Pendulum effect, and as a scale 3 to Lechery's scale 5, this card does not allow you to activate trap cards or their effects while it's in the Pendulum zone, except for Amorphage cards. Another great and powerful monster, easily able to be used with with the Amorphage archetype. The next card in the deck is 3 copies of Amorphage Gluttony, another European print of the Amorphage card, and a first edition card to boot. And this one's effect is that while you control an Amorphage monster, monsters cannot activate their effects. And this shuts down a lot of different things. So you can shut your opponent's deck down, assuming that you can ramp up to Gluttony fast. Though these are Earth Dragon type monsters, they are a force to be reckoned with, and the double triple threat combo provided by Lechery, Pride, and Gluttony is a force to be reckoned with in many, many different scenarios. The next triplicate card we're going to have in the deck is 3 copies of Amorphage Envy. And Amorphage Envy is a powerful card, considering that it does not allow anyone to activate an effect that would be chain linked to or higher, except for an Amorphage effect. Though you still have to tribute, this is great at stopping things such as a bottomless trap hole or a solemn strike, something that would otherwise chain to the summon of a monster and prevent that monster from becoming good, and prevent that card or monster from activating. Having an Amorphage Envy out is a powerful play against your opponent. Though most of these monsters have 0 attack power, it is still very, very powerful of a play. The next Amorphage monster we have is the 6th sin, or should I say, it is the 5th sin in the deck. And that 5th sin is 3 copies of the Amorphage Pride. Amorphage Pride, in this sense, is exactly the same as the other things. And as I've mentioned, I misnamed Pride as the other Amorphage Greed, considering the similarities they have with each other. So it is my apologies deeply for the mistakes and transgressions which I have conspired upon you. In fact, you might consider them a sin in the telling of this deck. However, Amorphage Pride is a powerful effect, and that effect is that when you have this card face up on your side of the field in the Pendulum zone, as long as you control an Amorphage monster, you must not take effect damage. With the Trickstar deck looming on the horizon, this is an important card for Amorphage players to bump to 3, considering its impressive power at stopping your opponent from doing egregious plays or moves that would just end in your demise. So, with Amorphage Pride on the field, you can easily swell the flow of cards. The next sin we have, sin number 6, is 3 copies of Amorphage Wrath. Amorphage Wrath prevents the tributing of monsters for any means, whether for a ritual summon, whether for the effect of a monster, or whether for a fusion summon, or even for an advanced summon. With the true Draco deck, as powerful as it is, having this monster can share your wrath of your Amorphage deck upon the transgressors who would play true Draco. And if they have many true Draco cards in their hand off of Card of Demise, they shall be forced to discard them during their end phase without effect. And this would naturally be a troublesome issue for them. The last of the 7 sins now presents himself, but he is only running at 1. The copy of himself is named Amorphage Sloth. Amorphage Sloth has a variety of different uses, but none is better than his certain effect. You see, unlike the other Amorphages, he has a less restrictive pendulum effect. It states that even if he is summoned, It doesn't matter how he's summoned. He doesn't have to be Pendulum or flipped. He could be Tribute summoned as well, or used in a different way. And he basically says that neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck, except for Amorphage monsters, in the same vein, yet with far fewer restrictions. Also, his Pendulum effect is even more powerful, that basically shuts down searching. Neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand while you control this card in your Pendulum zone. One thing of note, however, is that Amorphage Sloth does have a level of 6, meaning that you will not easily get this card out. Luckily, in the creation of this deck, Anthony Romero thought past that and has included cards to allow you to take on those feats. But Amorphage Sloth is excellent at shutting down your opponent's searching or their adding in any ways except by drawing those cards. A very, very important development, specifically in this current metagame and metagames like it. When the Amorphage come together, they create something truly powerful and disgusting. And that thing manifests itself in a variety of different ways. And the way in which it manifests itself is in the triplicate copies I am running of the great Amorphage Goliath, one of the headliners of this deck and a powerful monster of its own. And again, it has the same fewer restrictions of Goliath on its monster effect, but its Pendulum effect prevents cards from going to the graveyard and banishes them instead, permanently removing them from the game unless your opponent has an out to that. Again, it also says, except for those Amorphage cards, and since you're running all Amorphages in this deck, there is no recourse for your opponent. Now, moving on to the other cards. We're running one copy of the mighty Archfiend Centric. This is a bad fiend deck anyway, so dragons and fiends can expertly mix together. Archfiend Centric provides an excellent scale for your Pendulum monsters, and at the same time allows you both spell and trap as well as monster destruction, no matter which way you like it. A fantastic card all around, and one you should definitely consider running. Now, for the last 3 cards in our monster lineup now. Prepare yourselves for duty, because this card here is a powerful, powerful beast. Presenting to you the triplicate copies of Amorphage Pain, the Vain Drake Overlord, or as he's called in English, Amorphage Pain, the Imagination Drake Overlord. Enter the Twilight Zone with this monster for a second. You can ritual summon him with the Amorphous persona, the only ritual spell that is also a field spell. When he is ritual summoned successfully, your opponent automatically must skip their main phase 1. Do not pass go, do not collect 200 points, or $200. You might as well not have a battle phase at all, thanks to this mighty beast of a card. You see, because his power allows you not only to do that, but also to negate the effects of face-up fusion, synchro, and XYZ monsters while they're on the field. And then if this card is sent from your graveyard, or from your deck, or from your field to your graveyard, you can add 1 Drake Overlord monster from your deck to your hand. In this deck you will not be using that ability, but it is nice to know that it exists. A powerful card for sure, and one that you would want to see at a moment's notice, lest your opponent overwhelms you. Now, moving on to the spells and traps. To start off our spell lineup, we're running 3 copies of the eponymous ultra-rare Amorphous persona, A powerful card in its own right, made even more powerful through the presence of Amorphage Pain. You see, all Amorphage monsters on the field automatically gain 300 attack power. And in addition to that, if an Amorphage monster you control is tributed, including on the field or the Pendulum zone, or for one of those effects, you get to draw one card. And this effect is one of the very first effects that can allow you to activate it up to twice per turn. You can also tribute summon monsters. You can tribute monsters from your hand or field from the graveyard by banishing this card from the graveyard with levels exactly equal to 8, and then ritual summon the Amorphage Pain right out to inflict damage upon your opponent and to lay their monsters to waste. A fantastic card for sure, and a powerful addition to this deck at 3. The next card that Anthony Romero is running in here is the mighty card Amorphage Infection, a powerful spell card that allows you to strengthen your Amorphages and allow them to infect new things. For all Amorphage monsters gain 100 attack and defense for each Amorphage on the field. And if a monster from your hand or that you control is tributed or destroyed by battle or card effect, meaning it's even more versatile than the field spell itself, you can add one Amorphage card from your deck to your hand. Now this powerful spell card, you may think, has only that one effect and you'd only use it for the second. But that damage can add up, and that 100 attack point can add up. Because you see, with this on the field, 2 Amorphages on your Pendulum field, and a monster, one or more monsters in your zone, that's already 400 to 500 extra attack power that this Amorphage receives. And that is enough to put things from 1350 to 1750, from 24 to 27, or from 2750 to 3250. A powerful way to match on the battlefield the strength of Masterpiece, the true Draco-slaying king. A strengthy card to be sure, and when the Amorphage conquer the world, it will be in part, perhaps, because of the strength of Amorphage Infection. The next card we're running in here is one that Romero and Cuevas suggested together, and that is a triplicate copy of Pendulum Switch, a mighty Pendulum card that allows you to target one card in either player's Pendulum zone and declare a Pendulum scale from 1 to 10. And that monster's level becomes that Pendulum scale. This powerful card allows you to get your Amorphages back from the extra decks, such as Goliath and other ones that were sent there before, allowing you to easily overwhelm and outstrength your opponent and out-resource them in ways never thought possible. You see, Amorphages have restrictive Pendulum scales, but thanks to the power of Pendulum's shift, that problem goes away. It becomes even more apparent when you would activate the effect on your opponent's Pendulum scales, locking them into a play. If they have a scale 5 and a scale 8 with their Pendulum Magicians, you can knock their scale down to 5 for their other monster and permanently prevent them from summoning for the turn. Even better if they've activated Pendulum Switch and you've got them dead to rights for sure. A fantastic card to complement and strengthen the Amorphage to new heights. The next card I'm running is 2 copies of Ignite Reload. Ignite Reload does not work just for the Ignites, but can be used by the strength of the Amorphage as well, shuffling back dead Amorphages in hand and drawing a new hand +1. Ignite Reload is a powerful beast of a card that can easily turn the tide of a Pendulum deck in any duel. And now the last 3 cards that Anthony is running are powerful cards in and of themselves, but you should already know the name of this trap card, the strength on which this deck relies, the power on which it runs. It is the 3 copies of Amorphage Lysis. Anthony Romero picked this card up at sneak peek, a strengthened beast of a card that allows him the ability to replenish his pendulum scales in the event that he did not have tributes sufficient in order to keep them around. And not only did it replenish the powers of his extra deck, but it also strengthened the monsters on his field. By weakening his opponent's monsters 100 points of attack power for every single Amorphage card on the field, including, of course, itself, and allowing him to replenish and power through other monsters. That card, combined with the strength of the Amorphage infection, allowed many, many situations to occur where he could weaken his opponent's monsters without targeting them and strengthen his own, running them over in a fit of fury unlike anything anyone had seen before. With Amorphage stepping into the new format that is Lynx, Romero sought to keep this deck powerful and consistent. I hope you will enjoy the strength that the Amorphage bring to the table. And with that, this concludes this deck profile. We hope that you have enjoyed this deck profile about the Amorphage and the strength that they bring to the table. If you like this video and you want to see more profiles from the great Anthony Romero, please remember to give a like, comment, and subscribe to the Team Time Riders YouTube channel for more wonderful content just like this. And with that, I shall bid thee farewell. But keep in mind that the Amorphage are coming, and they're coming for revenge. Catch you guys next time. Peace.